Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
How are you?
I'm fine.
I see Nandimukhi is there with her daughter as well. Hari Bol. Next, Radha Vinod Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nana Mataji, Hare Krishna. Uttam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, all glory to Prabhu.
Prabhupada. How are you, Uttam Prabhu? You're on mute. I know what you're saying. Nana
పేరైపోయింది.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. It should be better. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's good.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. We can hear.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, I just changed my speaker, so I just wanted to make sure that my microphone. is okay. Shalu Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Rampriya Prabhu, Hare Bol. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Draupadi Mataji, Hare Bol. How are you? You're on mute, so I don't hear you, but I think I know what you're saying.
Sorry. It's great to see you twice in 1 week.
Yes, that's right.
Prabhuji.
My good luck.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear Madhu Mataji. How are you?
I am good, thank you.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
How are you?
हाँ जी प्रभु जी.
That's good. That's good. And is Sushma Mataji there today? Hari
Hare
Bol.
Krishna Prabhu ji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam aapko bhi. And who else do I see? I see Venki Prabhu. I don't see him, but I see his name.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
How are you, Prabhu?
Good Prabhu. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Ashok Prabhu, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam. How are you?
Good, thank you Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
So nice to see you.
Oh, there you are. How are you?
Good.
That's good. Vijayanandan Prabhu is there. His first day. How are you, Vijayanandan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'm
How are
doing well.
you?
Very well. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. And I see who was I see Damodar Charan Prabhu sitting there. I see Katwanga Prabhu, Hari Bol. I see some other names I don't recognize. Sachin Saxena. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat.
Can you put your video on, Prabhu, for a second?
Yes Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Hare Bol.
See you. Do I have your email, Prabhu?
No, I think you don't have my email. Damodar Sharan Prabhu shared this Zoom link with me.
Okay, so Damodar, can you please give me his email so I can put him on the
Yes,
disposition
Prabhu.
list?
I will send it to you for sure.
Thank you, Prabhu. Is there anybody else whose email I may not have? Sachin Prabhu, do I have your email?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Bhadra Krishna Prabhu, Hare Prabhu. Sachin Prabhu, do I have your email?
No Prabhu.
So
Should I give you now?
now I'm just going to display my email address. So note
Okay.
it down and send me an email that I'll have it.
Sure Prabhu.
Okay. Is there anybody else who's Uttam Prabhu? Do I have your email?
I think Ashoka Krishna Prabhu might have sent you, I think.
Okay, all right. I'll check again. I'm just not sure, but I'll check.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you?
Good.
That's great.
Hare Bol Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Oh, Rajan Prabhu, Hare Krishna, how are you?
Good Prabhuji.
Good to see you, Prabhu. Okay, all right. So I'm going to share the screen and put Pranami Mantra on. And then we'll get started. Okay.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु.
Hare Krishna, Aditi Mataji, how are you?
I'm fine प्रभु. आप कैसे हैं?
बहुत बढ़िया. Okay, so can everyone see the invocation prayers?
Yep.
Okay, somebody would
Yes.
like to lead it?
Sure, I can do it, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pashatya Deshatari Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So I was requested by a couple of people to consider not having a class on December 24th and December 31st because people have their own programs on those 2 days, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So I'm thinking that maybe that's a good idea. And so we'll December 24th and 31st, we won't have a class. But next week there is a class. Next week is only 17th, so we'll have that class. But after that, for 2 weeks, we'll have a break and then we'll come back again. And for those of you who don't have my email address or phone number, it's right there. So please note it down and send me an email so that I'll have your email and put you on the distribution list. And the main reason I have that is I send the recording of the program to everyone. And also every once in a while, I'll change the password. And so if you have my, if you are on my distribution list, then I'd be able to send you the note. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And before I do that, okay. Any questions from last week?
Yeah, I have a very generic question. May not be like last week. Can I ask?
Yes, of course. Of course.
When it comes to the 5 sacrifices, so what kind of 5 sacrifice will take us near to Krishna? Like there are a few of the 5 sacrifices, like Navagraha Homa, maybe that's considered as the demigods, right? So what kind of 5 sacrifices will take us to Krishna?
Yes. So in the age of Kali, which is the one we are living in, the only sacrifices required is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's all that's required. And one thing I forgot to mention in the class last week, when I was talking about Parikshit Maharaj subduing Kali, one of the reasons he actually let him live and left him alone was that he recognized the 2 qualities, 2 wonderful qualities of Kali Yuga. One is that in the age of Kali, Kirtina Deva Krishna se, or simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, you can go to him. And Deva says, what can be better than that? No austerity required, no big fire sacrifice required, no big deity worship required. Just chant Krishna's name whenever and wherever. And that's good enough. So that's first point. And the second point he was thinking about was that in the age of Kali, there's another very special quality. And that is, if you think of some activity which is sinful, but only think about it, not do it, then there's no sinful reaction. In other ages, even if you think about doing something sinful, you get the reaction. On the other hand, if you think of doing something good, like charitable, like, I'm going to give this temple $10,000. Just thinking like that gives you the credit of giving $10,000, even though you've not taken a penny out of your pocket. So considering those 2 good qualities, he said, you know what? I'm going to let Kali live despite all his faults and problems he's going to create. So those are 2 very specific things about Kali Yuga that we should be aware of. But direct answer to your question is just the whole chanting of the holy name.
Thank you. Thanks, Prabhu.
You're welcome. Anybody else has any questions from last week? Okay, in that case, we'll get started for this week. And so what we're going to do is go back to a question that you remember the 6 questions the sages had asked, and one of the questions was in regards to Lord Krishna's incarnations. They wanted to know in what incarnations does Krishna appear, and what are the activities in those incarnations. So what I've done today actually is I'm going to share the screen again in that same what you call same file, same what's the word? Same file. This is same document. That's what I'm looking for. Same document as Pranami mantra. I have got some other mantras written. So I'm going to display it, and we're going to discuss this verse, which is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, chapter 3, text 28. Would anyone like to read the verse and the translation? Oh, okay. Who's that?
Damodar Charan.
Okay. So Damodar Charan, go ahead, but next time give somebody else a chance, okay? Go ahead.
Okay. Etecham sakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge.
Nice. Go ahead, the translation.
All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portion or portion of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is. Whenever there is. I knew
Hold on. I'm sorry. I don't know how that happened. Go ahead.
Whenever there is disturbances created by the atheists, the Lord incarnates to protect the theists.
That's right. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing again. Okay. So what's happening here is that Sutta Goswami is answering the question about the different incarnations of the Lord. And some very, very important points are made here. First is all the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions. Do you all understand what the word plenary means?
No.
No? Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
Please tell us.
Yeah, sure. So plenary means something with the same powers. So like, for example, you have plenary committees in the government, which means they have all the powers of whoever is setting that committee up. So similarly, plenary incarnation means incarnation with same powers as Krishna, which basically includes all the Vishnu Tattva incarnations. So Lord Balaram, Lord Ram, they all have the same powers. There's some differences we'll talk about, but otherwise they are also Vishnu Tattva incarnations. Okay? Okay. So, and then there are portions of plenary portions, like those who do not have all the same powers. So we'll talk about that in a second also. So basically saying that before this particular verse, which is number 28 in this chapter, he had described 24 different incarnations of Krishna. Does anybody want to tell me maybe 4 or 5 incarnations, the names of the incarnations?
Lord Vara.
Lord Vara, yes. Sorry?
Parshuram.
Parashuram, okay.
Shri Ramchandra.
Ramchandra, yes. Matsya Avatar, yes.
Lord Buddha.
Lord Buddha, yeah. Yeah, so there's 24 of them.
Vamandev.
Sorry?
Vamandev.
Vamandev, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so, sorry?
Dhanvantri.
Dhanvantari also, yes.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Varaha. Varaha.
Okay, so we don't include
Varaha.
24, but yes, he's also.
So Mohini Roop also?
Mohini Roop also, yes, yes, yes.
Number word में दस सकते हैं सर.
What's that?
Nursing Dev.
Nursing Dev, absolutely, yes. Okay, yeah, that's enough. So the point is there are many, but 24 are mentioned by Sutta Goswami in this chapter. And then having mentioned those names, now he's saying that all these incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portion. So for example, portion would be Lord Parashuram, Lord King Prithu, Narad Muni. They are portions of the plenary portions. Lord Ram, Lord Nrsimhadev, they are plenary portions. And that's the difference. But saying, however, Lord Krishna is the original supreme personality of God.
Godhead.
So what does that mean? It says Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. What does Swayam mean? Let's just talk about for a second. Sorry? I'm sorry. Yes, that's the literal meaning. Literal meaning himself or whatever. But it's more than that. What it means is that because he's the source of all incarnations, therefore all the incarnations are in him. So for example, when Krishna appeared as Krishna, and Vrindavan is doing a lot of pastimes, all the incarnations of Krishna were in Krishna. So I don't know how many of you know that Krishna's role is to enjoy. He's not interested in killing. So all the demons that he killed were not killed by him. Do you know who killed them? Lord Vishnu, yes. So Lord Vishnu, who's an incarnation of Krishna, comes with Krishna when Krishna appears. And it's Vishnu who's killing, not Lord Krishna. Let him dance and let him play his flute and steal butter. That's all he's interested in. He's not interested in killing the demons. That's Vishnu doing. So that's just one example of how all the incarnations are within Krishna. So that's one reason why it's called Swayam. The second point is that these incarnations manifest only the powers needed at the time of their appearance and suitable for the circumstances. So where I'm going with that is Krishna has 6 opulences. Anybody knows what the 6 opulences are?
Yes. Most
fame.
Huh?
Most beautiful.
Most beautiful, yes.
Most richest.
Wealthy. All wealth.
Renunciation.
So one person at a time, please.
Wealth, strength.
Strength,
Beauty.
yes. His strength. So strength, beauty, fame, renunciation.
Fame, renunciation.
Right?
Yeah.
Knowledge, yes.
Knowledge.
Right?
Yep.
So he has all of them. So some of the incarnations that appear, they don't display all the opulences.
Yep.
So for example, Lord Nrsimhadev appeard. What was the opulence he displayed? Strength.
Strength.
What was the opulence that Kapil Dev, another incarnation, displayed?
Knowledge.
Knowledge, very good.
Knowledge.
Yes. So my point is that so different incarnations display different powers or opulence, whatever is needed at that time. It doesn't mean they don't have the other ones. But they're not manifesting it, but it's not needed. So Prabhupada actually gives an example of a electricity generating house, a powerhouse. That can, so if you go into a room in your house where you put a 0-watt bulb, do you say that, oh, that's all the power that generating station has? No, because it can light another huge building, or it can run a big machine in a plant, so on and so forth. But 0-watt bulbs only giving you what's needed in that place. So same thing. Lord Nrsimhadev has all the opulences, but it's only manifesting the one that's needed at the time. Is that clear? Yeah. On the other hand, Krishna manifests them all. So Krishna was, the most beautiful, the strongest, he had all the knowledge. He learned all the Vedas and all the other knowledge in 64 days, right? From Sandipani Muni. Right? So my point is that Krishna displays them all, whereas other incarnations, display only what's necessary. So basically, the word Swayam signifies his supremacy. That is the origin of all other incarnations. Then another very good point. Krishna has total of 64 qualities. Nobody else has 64 qualities. Even Lord Narayan has only 60. Lord Shiva has only 55. And all the living entities have only 50 partially. So what are the 4 qualities that Krishna displays that nobody else does? Yeah. Sorry?
Venu Madhurya.
Yes.
Rupa Madhurya.
Lila Madhuri, Roop Madhuri.
Madhurya. And what was the 4th one?
Leela Madhurya.
Venu Madhurya.
So Lila, Venu, Roop,
Prem.
Prem.
Prem. Very good.
Prem.
Yes.
Madhurya.
So Prem Madhurya, which is just for those of you who do not understand Hindi, it's the sweetness or the mellows of the flute, of the beauty, of the pastimes, and of the loving nature or loving pastimes. Nobody else displays that. That's very unique to Krishna. So again, because he's the source of all the incarnations, he keeps those 4 to himself, and then others can have the other up to 60.
Can you repeat, sorry, what the 4 are? The sweetness of
Yes,
his...
of course. Flute, beauty, pastimes, and love, prema. Okay? And we talked about Lord Shiva for a second. Lord Shiva is a very interesting personality in that his tattva, which is the the truth or the essence of Lord Shiva, is not the same as living entities that we are. It's not the same as Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna, who's Vishnu tattva. He's in between. So the example is given that if you take milk, you can turn milk into yogurt. But how many of you can turn yogurt into milk? The closest you come to is lassi. Right? So therefore, Lord Shiva can never be equal to Lord Vishnu, but he's always above the living entities, even Lord Brahma. Where Brahma is living entity. You and I can become Brahma. But you and I cannot become Shiva. Okay? But even Shiva is part of Lord Krishna. So again, same point. All the expansions, all the incarnations are coming from Krishna, and therefore he is the original supreme personality of Godhead. And that's the point we have to remember for the rest of our lives. Because as Rampriya Prabhu was asking, what about Navgraha Puja, another puja? None is necessary because everything is contained in Krishna, and therefore when you worship Krishna, everyone is automatically worshipped. The example is given of the root of a tree or the stomach of a person. If you feed the roots of a tree or the stomach of a person, every limb, every branch, every twig, every leaf, all the senses, they're all enlivened, they're all nourished. So when you serve Krishna, everybody's automatically served. So you don't have to worry about pleasing all the other demigods, all the other incarnations separately. Just please Krishna, everybody's automatically pleased. And that's the main point of this verse. Yeah, Radhika, go ahead.
What about Balaram? Because maybe, if I understand correctly, doesn't he also have these 4 things? Like he has his own set of gopis. Doesn't he also have flute? Is that a misconception?
So, yes, Lord Balaram is the immediate expansion of Lord Krishna, and all the other expansions come from Lord Balaram. So Lord Krishna is still the origin, but the very next is Balaram, and from him come all the other. But even Lord Balaram does not manifest to the degree that Lord Krishna does. All these 4 Madhuriyas.
But he has...
It's very close, very, very close.
Okay.
Very, very close. Still,
is Balaram not Shesha avatar?
No, Shesh is his expansion. Okay. Balaram ji, his expansion is Shesh. Okay. So like everybody, even Lord Narayan is expansion of Lord Balaram. So when Krishna was there, from his right side came Balaram. From his left side came, any guesses?
Radha.
Very good, yes, Radharani. So these are the two immediate expansions of Krishna. Everybody is subsequent. Okay, clear? Ask any questions you want, because this is a very important concept for our Krishna conscious life. Just understanding this point will answer millions of questions in your mind.
Prabhuji, just want to confirm one thing.
Yeah.
So Krishna is not considered as an avatar, right? So in the 24.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question, Rajan Babu. Very good question. So let me explain. What is the definition of incarnation? Anybody know?
When the real person takes a form, that is considered as an incarnation?
No.
He appears as
When someone comes from spiritual world and comes to the material world, so that is the incarnation.
Correct. Yeah, my wife is saying the same thing. Exactly. When a person, not person, personality, when a personality appears from the spiritual world into the material world for the sake of some pastimes, is called incarnation. So because Krishna also appeared for the pastimes, he's also an incarnation, but he's his own incarnation. Does that answer your question, Rajan Babu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, good. But great question. Yes, it's very important to understand that.
I have one more question.
Yes, please go ahead.
While watching the Mahabharatam series or serials, used to hear like Balram is a sevak, actually sevak of Narayan.
No, Krishna. Sevak
Okay.
of Krishna. Yes.
Okay, that is still true.
Always true. Always will be. So actually, Balaram is the best and biggest servant of Krishna. He serves him in so many ways we can't even imagine. So for example, he takes the form of his bed, his umbrella, his shoes, his pillow, his paraphernalia, his ornaments, Anantashesh, we were talking about that. All those forms he takes so he can serve him. And there's a story, and I'm not going to go into the details, when he appears Lord Lakshman with Lord Ram, he was not very happy because there were certain things that he had to do he didn't like Rama going to the forest or leaving Sita, sending her to exile. He didn't like all that. But he was the younger brother, he couldn't do anything. So he went to Krishna and he said, my Lord Krishna, next time I'm coming as older brother. So I don't want to go through what I did. So please allow me to be older. Krishna said, I have no problem, go ahead. So he came as Lord Balaram, older brother. But there was a problem. The problem was, as an older brother, he was not allowed to serve Krishna. And they drove him crazy. He would say, let me serve you. He said, no, you asked for it. You said you want to be a big brother. So go ahead, big brother. Now I can serve you. That was a huge problem for Lord Balaram. Because his nature is to serve. He only wants to serve.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, but Balram is Balramji's original form, right? Like Krishna is Krishna's original form. So Balram is Balram's original.
That's correct. That is correct. The form that we see with Krishna is the original Balram form.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Sure.
Actually, all these days I was thinking the other way. The Balram is the expansion of Shesha. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like Krishna is the expression of Vishnu. There's a lot of people who argue with that too, right? So yes, there's a lot of confusion, especially among the Indian people, because this, I don't want to use the word rumors, but somehow this thing gets started, and generation after generation, people keep hearing the same thing. They say, yeah, that's the truth, but nobody's looking at the scripture. So you look at the scripture, it says very clearly.
Thank you. Thanks, Prabhu.
Sure, no problem. Okay, all right. So let's keep going. Now we'll move to chapter 7 actually, because we already done chapter 4, 5, and 6 last week. So we'll move to chapter 7. So what I want to do is go back to the Battle of Mahabharata. How long it lasted? Anybody?
18 days.
18 days.
18 days.
Yes. So the Battle of Mahabharata started 18 days. But what does the word Mahabharat mean? Any ideas? What's a Maha mean? I mean, everybody knows what Maha is.
Maha is big.
Big or great.
Very big.
And what is Bharat?
Bharat is
Bharat is right, India.
Khanda.
So basically, Mahabharat means great India, right? Or great history of India. It's not the name of the battle. It's nothing like that, right? And so, like, even for that, there's so many confusing things. Some people say, no, that's the name of the battle, but it's not. And I have had people who refuse to get Mahabharat, a copy of book Mahabharat, and bring it to their house because they say, no, it will cause fights among the family members, just like it did in the book. So they won't bring the book in their house. None of that is true. Mahabharata is in scripture. It can only do good things. So don't have to worry about it. If you're interested, get a copy, bring it home, no worries. So anyway, that's a side. Anyway, so as somebody said, the battle lasted 18 days. And by the time the 18th day ended, the entire army of the Kauravas was killed. Everybody was killed. Only 3 people on the side of the Kauravas. And do you know how many people on the side of the Pandavas? The total number? Sorry?
7 or 8.
A little higher.
9.
9. There you go. Very good answer. So total of 12 people survived. 640 million people died. So 3 of those people who were on the side of the Kauravas were Kripacharya, who was the Kul Guru of the family. Ashwathama, who was the son of Dronacharya. And Kritavarma, who was actually a Yadu, but somehow he got talked into being on the side of the Kauravas.
Yeah.
So those 3 people survived. And on the Pandavas side, of course, Lord Krishna and the 5 Pandavas, the 6. And then Yujutsu, who was actually a stepbrother of, who knows? Duryodhan. Yeah, he was actually the son of a maid of Gandhari.
Yeah.
And Dhritarashtra. So he had switched sides. So I don't know, just before the side of the battle, Yudhishthira Maharaj said, anybody on my side who wants to switch their side to Kauravas is welcome to. And anybody on the Kaurava side who wants to switch side to our side is welcome to. And Yudhishthira moved at the battlefield from the Kaurava side to the Pandava side. And then, of course, there was Satyaki and there was Vrishiketu. Vrishiketu was a son of Karna, actually, believe it or not. And he was fighting on the side of the Pandavas. Anyway, so those are the 9 people on the Pandava side, 3 people on the Kaurava side. So 12 people survived. So these 3 people on the Kaurava side, Kripacharya, Kritavarma, and Ashwathama, they went to Duryodhan. Any guesses where Duryodhan was at that time?
In the ocean.
Not in the ocean. No.
In the ocean, yeah.
No. He had already had his fight with Bhima. His spine and thigh had been broken. So he was lying in the forest.
Lying in the forest.
Badly injured.
Yep.
Like counting his time to die, basically.
Yeah.
So they went to him, those 3 people. And Ashwathama said, Duryodhan, if you had made me the general of your army, I would have cut the heads of the Pandavas like within the 18 days. And Duryodhan said, well, you know what? It's not too late yet. I'm still alive. And therefore the battle is not all lost. And he took the blood from his thigh and put it on the forehead of Ashwathama.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, now you are the general or the Senapati. Now you know that Ashwathama was son of Dronacharya. And what was the caste, Varna of Dronacharya? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Brahmin, exactly. Sorry?
Brahmin.
What was the answer?
Brahmin.
Brahmin, yes.
Yeah.
So Dronacharya was a Brahmin. Therefore, Ashwathama was a Brahmin. So now you had a Brahmin as a general.
This was
Right? Son of Brahmin, Dronacharya, he was Brahmin. So he was general, but no army. There's nobody left except these other two guys. So he said, okay, I'm a general anyway. And he started going from the place, figuring out how he's going to kill the Pandavas. On the way, they were going through a forest. And, oh, sorry, before I say that, I just want to say also that Ashwatthama was the 5th general or Senapati of the Kaurava army. First 10 days was Dronacharya. Then for days 11 to 15 was
Bhishma Dev.
Bhishma Dev.
Bhishma Pitama.
After that, for 2 days, it was Karna.
Karna, yeah.
Last it was Shalya. Correct. So he was the 5th one. Anyway, so as they were going through the forest, they saw an owl. An owl came, and the quality of the owl is you can see the back. An owl came and killed all the birds who were innocently sleeping on a branch of a tree. Ashwatthama noticed that. He said, wait a minute. I just found my guru, my spiritual master, my hero, my example, my inspiration. I will kill the Pandavas when they're sleeping. And with that determination, he started walking towards the camp of the Pandavas. Well, what does Krishna say in Gita? Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto. I reside in the heart of everybody. So he knows what anybody's thinking. So he knew what Ashwatthama was thinking. So he told the Pandavas, it's not a good idea to sleep in the regular place on the day of your victory because you never know. So he moved them from there. Took them somewhere else. And Ashwatthama showed up at the camp. At the gate was Lord Shiva. And he said, you cannot enter. So Ashwatthama somehow or the other talked Lord Shiva into letting him go. But the other two had to stay outside. So he went alone and he got to the camp, the tent, I should say, what he thought was the Pandavas' tent. And he saw 6 people sleeping there. He assumed 5 were the Pandavas. And the 6th one was the general of the Pandavas, whose name was? Drishtadumna, yes. Drishtadumna sleeping in their cots. So he cut off the heads of all 6 people as they were still sleeping and took the heads with him to where Duryodhana was. So now remember, it's night time, it's dark. They go back to Duryodhana, who's still lying there, and said, I fulfilled my promise. I cut off the heads of the Pandavas and their general also. Here it is. And he showed with his hand, holding the heads of all these 6 people. So Duryodhana was very happy. He said, oh, this is wonderful, amazing, it's great. But then he noticed the faces. And he said, wait a minute, you fool, you killed the children of Draupadi. The 5 children of Draupadi you just killed. And even Duryodhana was disgusted. And he said, you know what? Now people will accuse me of killing the children. Now, Duryodhana had been given a curse long time ago. And the curse was that when he's simultaneously happy and sad, he will die. Right now, he was simultaneously happy and very, very sad. So that was the end of him. He died right there. And early morning, Lord Krishna brought the Pandavas back to the camp. But as they were nearing the camp, they heard loud crying. I said, oh my God, what happened now? So they went running to the tent, and there they saw Draupadi crying very loudly. She explained what had happened. And of course, you can imagine the reaction of Arjun. And he said, I will bring the head of the person who has done this cowardly and ghastly act. And I'll bring that to you, Draupadi. That your children and your brother were killed by this person. So he started chasing Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama was going as fast as he could. Then he realized that he's being chased by Arjun and there's no way he can escape. So he stopped, he turned around, and he released a nuclear bomb known as Brahmastra, which is controlled by mantras. Well, everything in those days was controlled by mantras. And he released it. Of course, this is like a weapon which emits so much light and heat. That's hard to miss it. So Arjuna saw that and he was confused. He said to Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, what is this? What's going on? And Krishna said, this is a Brahmastra, the nuclear weapon that Ashwatthama has released. And Krishna said to Ashwatthama, this is not good. This will devastate the whole planet. So please take it back. And Ashwatthama said, but I don't know how to take it back. I only know how to release it. And Krishna said, you fool. And he told Arjuna to please release his Brahmastra and take them both back. So then Arjuna read his mantras, chanted his mantras, released the Brahmastra. The two met and they both were taken back by Arjuna. And then Arjuna arrested Ashwatthama and took him to Draupadi, tied him down with a rope like an animal. Bhagavatam says he tied him down like an animal and took him to Draupadi. Now, I want to just take a sidetrack for a second. Sometimes people think that women in ancient times were weak and, housebound and not very intelligent and all that. Nothing could be further from the truth. There have been some amazing women in our history. Many of them have been described in the scriptures, like strong, very knowledgeable, wonderful devotees, and very forgiving. We know about Mother Kunti, we know about Mother Devhuti, we know about Mother Draupadi, so many women. Mandodari also in a way. Huh? Yeah, so anyway, my point is the many. So Draupadi here is showing now her strength, her character. And she looked at Ashwatthama and she said to Arjuna, why have you tied a Brahmin like an animal? I mean, he's the son of your guru, not just an ordinary Brahmin. He is the son of your guru, Dronacharya. And then she said, I am tolerating the death of my children. I don't want his mother, who's actually now a widow of Ashwatthama, of Dronacharya, to tolerate her son's death. You should know, my dear husband, a guru's son is the representative of your guru. So please let him go. Imagine, like just a few hours ago, she has found out her 5 sons and brother has been killed by this man. And she's saying, let him go. That's some character. Well, Bhima was standing right there too. He was a very angry person. He objected, no way. He said, Arjuna, you don't want to kill him? I'll kill him. So everybody looked at Krishna, what to do. Draupadi wants one thing, everybody else wants something else. So Krishna showed his 400 form. And he looked at Arjuna and said in a very mysterious way, he said, Arjuna, you should kill this aggressor. And now you can imagine what Draupadi is thinking. Krishna said, Arjuna, kill this aggressor. But, here comes the but. Krishna's but is very dangerous, as you know. So he said, but a Brahmin should not be killed. And with a twinkle in his eyes, he asked Arjuna to figure it out, kill him and not kill him at the same time. He figured out what to do. But Arjuna was a very smart person. He understood exactly what Krishna is saying. He understood what Krishna is hinting at. And he knew that insulting a Brahmin is worse than killing him. So what did he do? He took his sword out and there was a gem on the forehead of Ashwatthama. He took that out with his sword. And then he disfigured him, cut his hair here and there in kind of a funny looking shape, which are now normal, considered trendy these days, but those days they were not. So, and let him go. And Krishna cursed him to suffer this pain of the wound on his forehead. It will not heal until the end of Kali Yuga. Does anybody know how many more years to go in Kali Yuga?
Something around 4 lakhs.
4.32.
Okay, no, that's the total. So 5,000
yes.
427,000 left.
Yes, 27.
That's long time. So for that long a time, he's going to wander around the earth with the wound oozing pus and blood all that time. So you can imagine how painful that would be. But that's the punishment Ashwatthama was given by Lord Krishna. Okay, then anyway, so that was over. Now the time for Tarpan, which is the offering to the dead people. So the Pandavas offered Tarpan to all the people who died in the battle. Kunti was there as well, and she came forward and went to Yudhishthir. I said, "Can you
Can
please
I ask?
Tarpan?" Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Sorry, so Ashwatthama is like one of the 12 Mahajan also.
No, that's Bhishma. Ashwatthama is a rascal. Cannot you imagine?
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Sorry. So, what was I saying? Okay.
But Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, but he is one of the 7 Chiranjeevis also, right?
Well, Chiranjeevi only in the sense of long time. Like 427,000 is a long time, but not immortal. Chiranjeevi, yes. That's what Chiranjeevi means live long.
Long life.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. So that's why, I mean, the curse is also related to that. Is that why he is Chiranjeevi? Like just because he is, he will be living till the end of Kali Yuga?
Correct. Well, Krishna cursed him. Krishna cursed him. It's a curse, it's not a boon. It's a curse that you live with all the wound, oozing the pus and all that, blood and hurting, for 427,000 years.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Okay. So Kunti came forward and went to Yudhishthir, who was doing as the oldest brother, doing the Tarpan. And she said, "Can you please do Tarpan for Karna also?" And she was shocked. She said, "What are you talking about? Why?" And then she explained that actually he's your eldest brother. You can imagine the shock, but for a reason that you may not have thought of. Because Yudhishthira was very upset, but not for the reasons you and I might think about. He said, rather he asked, "Mother, why didn't you tell me before? If you told me before this battle happened, I would have given the entire kingdom to him. He's my older brother. I would have just given it to him." And Krishna said, no, but the problem with that would be that as soon as you give the kingdom to him, he will give it to his friend Duryodhan. And the whole adharma would continue. So that was the reason she did not tell you at that time. So Yudhishthira was still very upset. So he cursed his mother. And he said, from now on, no women would be able to keep a secret. That's a curse of Yudhishthira to all womankind. He was so upset. But anyway, so that went on. Now it was time for Lord Krishna to leave Hastinapur. He had been here for months and go back home to Dwarka. So before I go into that one, any questions or comments before I move on? This is a totally different story.
Prabhuji, like when Ashwatthama put that Brahmastra, didn't he redirected it to Uttara's home?
That's a story coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very, very soon. In 10 minutes, you'll hear that.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So maybe it's a silly question, like where Ashwatthama lives now.
Where does he live? Is that the question?
Yes, Prabhu.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, where Ashwatthama lives.
Yes. So he's not living anywhere. He's just wandering around he's orbiting like a satellite. Constantly orbiting like a satellite. That's part of his punishment. So he doesn't have home. He doesn't stay in one place. Just going around and around and around. And he'll be doing that for another 427,000 years.
Prabhu, he's not visible, isn't it?
What's that?
The Ashwatthama, he's not visible to human beings, to us, like till he die, he's not visible to us.
That is correct. Yes, he's not visible. Yeah. And it's probably, I don't know how high his orbit is, so I don't even know, if he could be visible, but no, he's not visible. Okay. All right. So then let's move on. So Lord Krishna said, well, time for me to go. Nobody wanted to let him go. Actually, many times he tried. They would not let him go. Finally, they said, okay, fine. So now just imagine the scene outside the palace. His chariot is there. Lord Krishna is saying goodbye to everybody, and he mounts his chariot. As soon as he does that, he sees Uttara. Who's Uttara?
Abhimanyu's wife, Arjun's daughter.
Abhimanyu's wife. Running towards him. Hands raised, wearing a white sari because she was a widow, and shouting for Krishna. Last week we discussed in a lot of detail this story, so I'm not going to get into the details, but basically she was shouting for help, and we discussed last week how Krishna protected Maharaj Parikshit in the womb of Uttara, and then after that he was back on the chariot. And he was about to depart when he saw his aunt, Mother Kunti, or Queen Kunti, coming towards him. When he saw her, he got off the chariot again, offered his Dandvat Pranam to her. She was his Bua. And Queen Kunti started offering prayers, which are now known as prayers of Queen Kunti.
Queen Kunti.
Right? So I'm going to again share the screen and put the verse up so everybody can see. Okay. Can you see 1.8.21?
Yeah.
Somebody like to volunteer to read?
Here, Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Nama.
The translation, please.
Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudev, the pleasure of Devki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses.
So this is Queen Kunti's Nam Sankirtan. She is chanting the names of the Lord. And some very, like in Bhagavatam, every word is so meaningful. You can go very, very deep into this. So basically she's offering her Namo Nama, the last two words, offering her obeisances. But at the same time, she's showing her affection to him. She says, Krishna, you are Vasudevaya. What does Vasudevaya mean? The son of Vasudeva, who is her brother. And Devaki Nandanayacha, and you are the son of Devaki, my sister-in-law. So she's saying, Krishna, you are the son of my brother and my sister-in-law. And so basically she's saying, this is how intimate a relationship we have with each other. You're very close to me. You're we have a very intimate relationship of an aunt and a nephew. And then she says, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya. Who is Nanda? His foster parent. Right? And you are Nanda Kumar, means you are the son of your foster father, Nanda Maharaj. And you are a Gop Kumar, which means, what does Gopa mean?
Cow.
So Go means cow, Pa means palan, which means the one who maintains the cows, nourishes the cows, take care of the cows. And Go also means senses. So the master of the senses. So she's saying you are a Gopa Kumar. In other words, you're taking care of all the cows in Vrindavan. And because you're Gop Kumar, you're also being loved by all the other Gop Kumaras, who are the other cowherd boys. So saying that you have the relationship not just with Vasudeva and Devaki, but also with Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, and all the residents of Vrindavan. And then she's implying that, and then she says Govindai. What does Govindai mean? The one who gives pleasure. to the cows. Senses and the cows, right? So basically she's saying again that somehow or the other the residents of Vrindavan and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda were luckier than my brother, Vasudeva and Devaki, because they only gave birth. But the real childhood pastimes, all the naughty stuff, all the sweet stuff, was enjoyed by Nanda and Yashoda and these Gopas. So she's saying they were luckier than my own brother and sister. So, so therefore, she's saying because these residents of Vrindavan enjoyed your childhood pastimes, they're very lucky, luckier than my brother and sister. And Lord Chaitanya actually confirmed that. He said, there's nobody more fortunate than the residents of Vrindavan, especially the cowherd girls, the gopis, and the gopas, who had such a wonderful time with Krishna, but they dedicated everything in their life to Krishna. In sleeping and waking and doing anything, they're constantly thinking about Krishna. So, excuse me. So she's saying, you're Govinda because you're giving pleasure to the cows and cowherd boys and girls. And then she moves on to the next verse. Would somebody like to read that?
I can do, Prabhu.
What, please?
Yeah. Namo Pankaja Nabhaya.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, Namo Pankaja Maline, Namo Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangre. My respectful obeisance are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with the depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with the garlands of lotus flowers, whose gallant is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with the lotuses.
Right. So last week we talked about how to take darshan of Krishna. Where do you start?
From feet.
Lotus feet.
Then you go up, right? Here she's going the other way. She's Nabhi, the navel, the garland, the eyes, before she comes to the feet. And Prabhupada explains that it's because she did not want to embarrass Krishna. But Krishna still thinks I'm the nephew. She doesn't want to start offering respects in the manner that other people do. So not wanting to embarrass him, she starts with the navel and moves on to the garland and the eyes and all this kind of thing. Also, in every adjective, she's using the word pankaj. What does pankaj mean? The literal meaning.
Lotus.
No, that's the implication. What's the literal meaning? Pankaja. Pankaja. So ja means born out of, pank means mud. So what's born out of mud? That's lotus flower. But lotus flower is a very special flower. What's the special thing about lotus flower?
It's from the spiritual world.
Well, okay, but in the
No,
mundane...
it grows in the mud, like dirty. It's not that pure.
Lord Vishnu sits in it.
It's not affected by the mud around it. All the mud, all the muck around it, the dirty water, doesn't affect it. It's living there in the middle of this mud and other junk.
But it is
unaffected by it completely. So Krishna is like that. Even when he comes to the material world, which is full of junk.
You are above that.
And there are a lot of punks here too. Right? But it's not affected. Krishna is not affected by that. He's not affected by anything material. Hence the pankaj. Okay? So saying, and then Pankaj Nabha, of course, that's Gaudakshay Vishnu, a lotus flower comes out of his navel. So Pankaj Nabha is that meaning also. The lotus flower sprouting out of your navel.
But Prabhuji, sorry, does Kunti Mata and they all know that Krishna is the Lord who has come in the from the spiritual world, or just they know that there is some relation like brother, son or something?
So Kunti Mataji, Pandavas, they know.
They
the
know,
residents of Vrindavan, they don't know. Or they know, but they don't know.
Okay. How
Look
come
at
they know, like?
many times he would show his 400 form, right? Even when he
Okay.
saved Parikshit, he was in his 400 form. When he cut the head off Shishupal, he was in 400 form. So it's just Sudarshan Chakra.
Huh,
So there's many times when he went to the Kauravas for negotiation with a peace proposal. He showed his universal form, right? So they knew.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, so then Kunti is thinking or saying that Krishna, you saved your parents from Kansa. So Vasudeva and Devaki were released from the prison after Krishna killed Kansa, right? But she's thinking, but you allowed Kansa to kill 6 of the children of your parents. However, you did not allow any of my children to die. My 5 children, you did not allow them to die. So therefore, I feel that you showed me more favor than to your own parents. And she's appreciating that. And then she says, you saved us from so many dangers. Like Bhima was poisoned. We were sent to the house of Shalak. It was burnt. We were sent into exile. All those kind of things where Hidimba tried to eat us, and so many other problems we had. Durvasa Muni was sent, by Duryodhan, so he could curse us. She said, time after time after time, we ran into so many problems, so many difficulties, met so many dangers. But you were there every time to save us. So I'm luckier than my own brother and my sister. And then Prabhupada explains that it's probably because Devaki was married, she had her husband. But Kunti was a widow. She had no protection. So Krishna said, I'll be your protection. And that is Krishna's nature. When somebody thinks I have no protection, Krishna says, what do you mean? I'm your protection. When somebody says, I have protection, Krishna says, okay, let's see. Okay, that's Krishna's nature. So she's identifying that. She's identifying that. She says, you are there for me because you don't have nobody else. When I'm helpless, when I'm clueless, when I am, anything less, you're there for me. And she said, therefore, Krishna gives, endows more favor to the person who is in greater danger. Although Krishna is very funny in that sometimes he puts his own devotee in great danger. But there are other reasons for that we'll discuss. In more detail, we talk about Bhishma Pitama, but here, suffice to say, he wants to see his devotees in a helpless condition so they can come and take shelter of him and they can help them. There are many other reasons we talk about later, but that's one of the reasons. When the devotees feel helpless, they know only one thing, that's to go to Krishna. And therefore, devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. And the more the attachment for the Lord, the more Krishna is attached to the devotee and saying, Kante prajani name bhakta pranashyati. Kante declare boldly, my devotee does not perish. My devotee does not lose. Why? Because I'm there. I was there for Prahlad, I was there for Dhruva, I was there for so many other devotees. So Kunti is remembering all that. And she's remembering her own difficulties. But not just remembering the difficulties, how bad it was. She's thinking how great it was. That every time I was in trouble, Krishna was there. Somehow or the other to save us. So much so that she actually starts to pray to be put in more miserable situations. She's saying, please, she's praying, Krishna, please put me in misery all the time. Now, how many people do you know who pray like that? But Kunti is, and that's the next verse. So who would like to read that?
I'll read.
I'll read.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mataji.
विपिद संतुता शाश्वतत्र तत्र जगद्गुरो भवतो दर्शनम यस्य याद पुनर्भव darshanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths.
Thank you. So let's ask a question. No, not a question. Let's just talk about this. There are three types of people in this world. Right? One is who try very hard to avoid miseries. Second is people who tolerate miseries. They come, they go, they tolerate. And third is people who invite miseries, which is what Kunti is doing. She's saying, please send more. So let's understand that. So first of all, Prabhupada says, only complete fools or self-realized pure devotees are happy in this material world. Nobody else is. Pure fools because they don't know what's going on. They don't know any better. Pure devotees because they don't care. They're above all the material things, including the miseries. So then the question should be, as we're saying, why does Krishna put his pure devotees in misery? Well, maybe we can discuss that. Can somebody tell me why does Krishna put his devotees, pure devotees, in misery? So my wife is saying, cause this mercy. What else?
To bring them more closer to Krishna.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. To bring them closer to Krishna. What else?
I guess in this sense, like in the example of Queen Kunti, it's maybe it's a pastime, not so much about her, but it's an opportunity for us to learn how to behave or act in such situations by the examples of the pure devotees.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. So to set an example for us, this is how you behave. You're absolutely right. Yes. What else?
So that we get the glorification of the devotees. I mean, when they are doing it.
Absolutely right.
Until and unless a
To detach
person is
from the
completely
material world, like only take shelter to the Lord can detach from the material world.
Sorry, Prabhu, say again. Prabhu?
To detach from the other bindings of material world and to take just shelter on to Lord Krishna.
Yes, 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 absolutely right. Yes. Anything else? Yes, Aditi, Pataji?
Yeah. Until and unless person is completely exhausted, like this is not, you will not go to Krishna. So that Grivita, what we call it.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Anything else? One very obvious point you have missed, and that is this place is a place of material world. It's a place of misery. So if you're here, you're going to have it. Even when Krishna comes, he gets so much misery. Day of birth, he is separated from his birth parents.
Yeah.
When he is there in Vrindavan, every day between breakfast and lunch, a demon attacks. Even when he was just 6 days old, he got attacked by Putana. 3 months by Shakatasur. 1 year, Pranavarth, and on and on. And every day somebody will come try kill him. He grew up and became an adult in Dwarka. He was accused of stealing a necklace. Right? So even Lord Ram, his wife was kidnapped. He was exiled to the forest. Like if Supreme Personality of Godhead has to go through, who are we? So we should expect that. But as you gave some very, very good answers. So devotees expect the miseries. And they're not disturbed by them. They continue to make progress in their spiritual life while suffering the calamities because they're continuing to depend upon Lord Krishna. There's a very wonderful verse that Lord Brahma recited when he was trying to steal, or not steal. when he stole the calves and the cowherd boys away from Krishna, and he got caught, and he's offering his prayers, and he's saying, Tatte anukampam susamikshmano. He's saying that the devotees don't blame anybody but their karmas for bad things. But as they're suffering, they continue to offer their obeisances with their heart, body, and mind to Krishna. And just from doing that, they become eligible to be promoted to Goloka Vrindavan. Just from that. So pure devotees don't blame anybody but their past karmas, but they never stop taking shelter of Krishna either. Right? So again, we'll talk a little bit more when we talk about Bhishma Pitama. But the point being, the more miseries come, the more a devotee remembers Lord Krishna. And this is what I'm going to share the screen again. This is what Kunti is saying in this verse. Saying, Bhavato darshanam yat syat. Because every time I'm in trouble, I think of you and I see you. And I know when I see you, I will not come back to see this material world again. So she says, therefore, any misery is worth it because I get to see you and I stop all the chances of my coming back to this material world. That's the attitude of a devotee. And then she realized that not everybody is a devotee. So why am I talking about pure devotees? So that brings us to the next verse. Who would like to read number 26? Anybody like to read number 26? Sure, go ahead.
जन्म ऐश्वर्य श्रुत शिरबीर एदमाना मदपुमान न एव अर्हति अभिदातुं वै त्वाम किंचन गोचरम. Translation: My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty cannot approach you with sincere feeling.
Yes. So she's saying that there are people who find it very difficult to make progress on the path of devotional service. And these are the people who are proud of their high lineage, of their high education, of their wealth, or their beauty. They cannot develop feelings in their heart. And remember, all these classes we've been talking about, if you don't take Krishna's name with feelings, it doesn't have the same effect. So she's basically saying the same thing. But these people don't have any feelings for you. And she says, Tvam akinchan gocharam, the last three words, which says that only those who are materially exhausted, which means they're sick of the material world. They don't want anything material anymore. They know it's just not worth it. They're the ones to whom you become visible because they have taken your total shelter and they have no material attachment left anymore. So that's what she's basically saying. So basically what it means is that we all have a choice. When we pray to Krishna, we have a choice. We can ask for the whole world and we get the whole world without God. Or we can ask for God. When we get God, we get the world with it. So that's the choice we have. If we ask for the world, we don't get God. If you ask for God, we get the whole world with the God. So is that point clear, by the way? There's a very nice story that I heard from Sarvabhauma Prabhu. He said there was a king, on his birthday, he arranged a big party and invited everybody in his kingdom to come to the party. And when everyone arrived after the happy birthday song, he said, take anything you want. All you have to do is put your hand on it and you can take it with you. So people went crazy. Somebody was trying to put his hand on something diamond, some jewelry, or something else expensive, or somebody was taking horses. Everybody was taking something. There was an old woman there. She came to the king. She says, "What's going on?" I said, "You don't understand. I just announced that all you have to do is to put your hand on something and you can take it with you. Take it with you." He said, "Oh, is that right?" She put her hand on the head of the king. What does that mean? That means now she can take king with him. So she became Rajmata, the queen mother. And that's the whole point. If we ask for Krishna, then there's nothing in the world that's not available to us. Everything is available to us. That's different, that we don't want anything else, like Dhruva Maharaj. We got you, we don't want anything else. Different point. But the point is, everything is available. There was a Bollywood movie, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. Anupam Kher, that's all I remember. Anupam Kher was the main character in that. And he had a son who was very worried that he will marry, Anupam Kher was a widower, that he will marry a neighbor and therefore he'll lose all the property. So son was worried of losing all the property because his father will marry somebody else. So he declared him to be insane in the court. So, and he won. The court declared Anupam Kher to be insane. So next day, Anupam Kher came home and he met his son and he gave him the key to the house. I said goodbye. Now son was feeling bad. So he said, "Father, you can still live here. It's still your home. You can live here." And Anupam Kher said something that I'll never forget. He turned to him and said, "You could have asked for your father, in which case you would have got the father and the home. But you asked for the home, you can keep the home, you don't get your father." And he left. That's all I remember about that movie. I don't remember any other details, but I'll never forget that. And that's the point here. If we ask for Krishna, everything comes with him. If you ask for everything else, Krishna does not come with him. And what's the use? So that's the beautiful point that Kunti Maharani is making in this particular verse. And then she goes on. She says that Krishna has nothing to do with modes of material nature. You know, the two don't mix. Like the what was I going to say?
Oil and water.
Yeah, oil and water. Thank you. It's like oil and water. They just don't mix. And we are making the choice. Which one do we want? So anyway, so she says later on that Krishna doesn't have anything to do with modes of material nature because he's satisfied. Which is known as Atmaram. And then she says the point is that anyone who has Krishna is also not affected by modes of material nature. So pure devotees have nothing to do with modes of material nature. There's a very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, 14:26. How does it go? Mam chayo abhyabhicharene bhakti yogena sevate. Sagunan samatiti etan brahma bhuvaya kalpate. Anybody who performs pure devotional service rises above, transcends the modes of material nature, just like Krishna has. So she's making that point. And then she's expressing kind of her bewilderment that, you know, you're unborn. Krishna, you're unborn. But yet you took birth in the house of my brother and my sister-in-law. Just because they prayed for you. And then even more bewildering to me, Krishna, she's saying that even though fear personified is afraid of you, but you were afraid of your foster mother Yashoda when she took the rope to bind you. She said, that's really bewildering to me. How can that be? And then she listed many other reasons for Krishna's appearance, because Brahma prayed for you to rid the earth of the demons, to rejuvenate the 9 processes of devotional service, for the benefit of conditioned souls. What else? That those people who continuously chant and hear your name, they'll see your lotus feet and become liberated from the material world, on and on and on. And then she asked Krishna, are you really leaving us? Are you leaving your aunt and your cousins Pandavas so you can go back to Dwarka? Despite the fact you know that we are totally, completely, utterly dependent upon your mercy and your protection. We have so many enemies now. Who will protect us? And she said, without you, Krishna, we are as good as dead. Just imagine Krishna having to hear that. And then she closed off her prayers by begging him to please break my ties, that's Kunti's ties, with the Pandavas, my sons, and the Vrishnis, my Maika, my mother and father's place, my brother and sister-in-law who lived there, so that my attention, my attraction is constantly drawn unto you. I don't want any diversions. And she offered her obeisances again. So hearing that, Lord Krishna smiled very mildly, and he went into the palace to inform all the other ladies that he's going to leave. But as he was preparing to leave, Yudhishthira Maharaj came and stopped him. And Yudhishthira was crying like anything. And he was blaming himself for the death of so many people, including his friends and relatives. So all the sages present there, they tried to convince him that's not his fault, that the kings have to fight battles and things like that. But Yudhishthira Maharaj had a counter argument for everything. He continued to blame himself. Even Krishna could not convince him that he's not to be blamed. So Krishna decided, you know what, I'm going to stay a little longer. And then he said, you should present your question to Bhishma. Who was Bhishma at that time? He was lying in the bed of arrows in now deserted battlefield. Because the battle was finished, everybody was dead. But Lord Krishna said, Yudhishthira, he used to call him Bade Bhaiya, which was older brother. Bade Bhaiya, please dress like a king, like an emperor that you are now. And come accompanied by all your brothers and other paraphernalia and your soldiers and everything. Make sure you put your crown on your head. So he said, okay. So he dressed like that and they started. And there were a lot of sages that accompanied them, including Vyasadeva. And they all showed up to where Bhishma Pitama was lying down. Now, Krishna was very well aware of Bhishma's promise to his father. Does anybody remember what the promise was? What promise did Bhishma give to his father?
That he won't marry in his life and he will be
his
with
father-in-law.
the
No, that was
father.
That's his father's father-in-law that made the promise.
As long as I don't see Hastinapur in a proper hand.
Yes. Yes.
I would not leave my body until I'm convinced that Hastinapur is safe and secure. And that was the reason why Krishna said to Yudhishthira, you go dressed like an emperor. With a crown and everything, all the other kingly paraphernalia. So Bhishma Pitama realizes that now Hastinapur is protected by you and he may leave his body. So sure enough, when Bhishma saw Yudhishthira dressed like an emperor, he decided it was time to go. And all he had to do was decide time to go. Sometimes we say internet is too slow, right? Has anybody ever said that? The internet is too slow? Nobody said that? I say this all the time. Pictures hang, voices break, and all these kind of things. So it is true. Because look what happened here. The news spread like wildfire that Bhishma Pitama Bhishma Dev is going to leave his body. And Narad Muni, Shukadev, Parvat Muni, Parashuram, Vasishtha, Gautam, all the demigods, they all showed up immediately. Like internet cannot go that fast. And they were all welcomed by Bhishma properly, appropriately, and they sat down on the right side of Bhishma. Pandavas stood on the left side. And Bhishma smiled at Yudhishthira on seeing the crown on his head. He was very happy. And then he said, where's Krishna? Because Bhishma is only thinking Krishna right now. So Krishna was standing by his feet, and Krishna beckoned him to come closer. And he offered his worship, his prayers, holding his hand like this. But there was nothing else he could do. He was lying down on a bed of arrows. So worshipped him like that and embraced Krishna in his heart. And then he looked at the Pandavas with tears of affection in his eyes. And he congratulated them on their victory. Now, Bhishma understood what's going on in the mind of Yudhishthira about all the miseries that he's caused and all the suffering that he had to do. So he acknowledged to Yudhishthira the terrible sufferings and the injustices that he and the other Pandavas had to suffer. And he said that all of you have survived because you were protected by the Brahmanas, by Krishna, and by the religion. They were all on your side, and that's the reason for your survival. And he acknowledged also the suffering of Queen Kunti, his daughter-in-law, because she became a widow at a very young age with 5 children. And she suffered even more because of all the things that were happening to her children. So basically he was implying that she was destined to suffer by providence. And then we'll talk later on, he was basically implying also that when something is coming from the providence, we're supposed to tolerate it without being disturbed. And then he spoke the next verse on the sheet that I'm going to share again with you. Somebody would like to read 9:14? Oops, sorry. There you go. A volunteer who has not volunteered before?
I'll try to read, Prabhu.
Please do. Yes, please do.
Sarvam kalakritam manye bhavatam sa yat apriyam sa palo yat vas loko vayom iv ganavya
Vali.
vali.
Very good.
Ganavali, yeah.
Translation?
In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time under those who control everyone in every planet is carried just as the clouds are carried by the wind.
Right. So, a wonderful point being made by him. And he's saying that everything is under the control of time. And he says, in my opinion, he's saying, it's my opinion, but I know what I'm talking about, basically. And he says, is all due to the inevitable time. And he says that time is actually it's an expansion of Krishna. And therefore it's a forceful representative of Krishna. And it controls everyone in every planet, including the heads of the planet. And how does it control? So completely, just like the clouds are carried by the wind. No cloud can move in a direction opposite to the direction of the wind. Whichever way the wind is blowing, that's where the clouds go. And he's saying that's the kind of control time has. And therefore, he's saying, Yudhishthira, you should not be sorry for the inconceivable actions of time. Or nor should you feel that you're suffering the result of your past karma. And then he says, what we were discussing before, everyone in the material world has to bear the actions and reactions of time. And therefore, you should not be disturbed by the tricks of time. And then he says, gives the example of Brahmaji. He says, even Brahma, who is the controller of the entire universe, is under the control of time. So don't grudge being thus controlled by time, despite being a true follower of religious principles. So what is he really saying? He's saying, if it was not the influence of inevitable time, how could a pious king like you, who's a great fighter like Brahma and a great archer, who has a great fighter like Bhima and a great archer like Arjun for his brothers, and above all, who's got Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, supporting and helping and being the direct well-wisher, how can a person like that suffer from any reverses? And he says again, Kala, the time, is identical with Lord himself because the expansion. And therefore, the influence of time indicates the wish of the Lord himself. Inexplicable it may be, but it's the wish of the Lord. And therefore, if we accept that this is the wish of the Lord, there's nothing to lament. because beyond the control of any human being. Okay, if I'm going too fast, I'm going to slow down a little bit and see if you understand what I'm saying, because again, and the very, very important concept of Srimad Bhagavatam. Any questions or clarifications you need? Otherwise, I'll proceed. It's almost time to finish.
Just a quick question. Did you say, similar to Queen Kunti, Bhishma is also saying that when we see reversals, we should just see it as due to our own karma? Or did you say the opposite?
No, so I said some people see it as karma. Bhishma Pitama is saying is the effect of inevitable time. It's controlling everything. So now what happens is just the reconciliation of that is that the karmas act according to the time. Sorry, the results of the karmas act according to the time. So different results become predominant at different times. And that's why they say, this is your time, or no, this is not your time. Right? That's the implication there. Right? So somebody is having, the planets are aligned such that everything auspicious is happening in his life. And then, a few days later, they align so that nothing goes right in his life. And I'm sure we have all experienced good days and bad days in our life. And Bishop Thomas saying it's all the effect of time. Karma is related also. It's not a contradiction. Saying that what karmas become more effective is decided by the time. So hence, that's the reconciliation.
Super. Thank you. If I can just share a reflection, if that's okay.
Yes, please, absolutely. Please. Yeah.
I just thought it was very sweet, when you say everything is under the control of time. Krishna is time, therefore we should have this faith that everything is taking place according to his wishes only. It just made me think of, I think it's in Satsaru Maharaj's book, Qualities of Krishna, that Krishna is all cognizant. Yes. He is aware of everything, and he is actively working at all times to bring us closer to him. So this idea that he is actively always working to bring each of us closer to him, it just made me think of that.
Sure. That's a very good point. And Krishna is the hardest working person, because imagine all these living entities trying to bring them home. Actively trying to bring them home. Yes, very good. Thank you, Radhika. Okay, so which brings us to the next verse. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, so
yeah,
I had one question.
Yeah.
So if we get perfection in spiritual life, we go back to Golok Vrindavana. If not, based on the good fortune collected, good spiritual fortune collected, we'll come back with in a family of a better class. So basically, as a Brahmana family or aristocratic family, so that we continue. Now, this contradicts with what Kunti Maharani said, because she said that a person having a higher class or wealth, he's not. It's less probability that he will call your name with
feelings,
perfection or purity. So, if you can explain this, please.
Yeah, so I see no contradiction. So basically, refer to Bhagavad Gita 641, 642. Prapya Purakatam Lokan Vishita Shaswati Sama Shushinam Shimatam Ge Yog Bhashto Abhijayate, which says basically that if you give up your body before you achieve perfection in devotional service, you come back to the house of a aristocratic person or a pious person, from where you have an opportunity to start again, right? From the point you left off, right? But that has nothing to do with what Kunti is saying. She's saying those people who are proud of their education, their wealth, etc., they do not develop feelings for Krishna. So I don't want to say for you, but I have no feelings for Krishna. I'm trying to be a devotee. I'm chanting my 16 rounds. I'm doing all the 9 processes of devotional service, but I have no feelings for him. Right? So that's what Kunti is referring to. Those of us who are not materially exhausted, who have not given up their attachment to material things, they don't develop feelings. But that doesn't mean they cannot become devotee. They're still trying to be devotee, just like I am. Right? So do you see what I'm saying? So I don't think there's any contradiction at all.
I missed that operative word, pride. If you're feeling proud of those, then then probably won't
Correct.
develop.
Probably she's saying it won't happen.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Prabhu, can I quickly ask about that karma discussion you were having just a few minutes
Sure.
ago?
Sure.
I'm just trying to get a better answer to this question. So like we see, like there's some people, who say that I don't believe in karma, and then, things like they bring up this points like, oh, if karma was in place, then why Holocaust happened, or why, things, bad things happen. So like, can we look at that from a time aspect? Like the way you're explaining, like it's all a function of time, the way you were having this, the Radhika was explaining as well.
So, function of time is what Bhishma Dev was saying, but that's not contradicting the karma theory. As I was explaining, that karmas, good karmas and bad karmas, become more or less prominent according to time, and therefore the results. And then this whole thing about the group karma. So, according to the karmas of all the people, whatever the number was, who died in Holocaust, their group karma was that was their life duration, and they were meant to die under those circumstances. When you look at the in the right perspective, I mean, how many living entities are in the material world? Infinite. So not to sound callous or anything like that, if 50,000, 100,000, 500,000 died, it's nothing compared to infinity, right? So yeah, it's a very small portion of the total number of living entities had the karma such that coincided that they will have their death at that time. And that's it. So there's no contradiction there. There's still karma, still time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then I'll quickly try to finish it because already past our time. And so in the next verse, I'm going to skip the reading of it. So basically he says, no one can know the plan of the Lord. And then he says, great philosophers have inquired exhaustively, they have researched exhaustively, they spend their lifetimes, and all that has happened is they've become bewildered. So he's saying, don't even try to understand why Krishna is doing what he's doing. And he's basically saying that even Lord Brahma, even Lord Shiva cannot understand Lord's plan. Everything happens by Lord's will. And let me explain another point. Has anybody played the game called Connect the Dots?
Connect the dots.
Connect the Dots. Have you played? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So it's basically you connect the dots, suddenly you get a picture. But until you connect the dots, you just dots. So Krishna knows all the dots in the past, in the present, in the future. Somebody cursed somebody, somebody gave a benediction to somebody did a karma here, somebody did something. Krishna knows it all. So for example, as a child, he knew that the two trees in the courtyard are the two demigods cursed by Narada Muni millions of years ago. So he released them. All the demons he killed, they were cursed by somebody, so he arranged to kill them. Right? On and on and on. So he can connect the dots. Therefore, he knows the past, the future, and the present. And so he does things accordingly, but we don't know the past. We don't know the future. So we say, why? Why is he doing that? Another point. Those of you who work in the corporate world have experienced this thing, I guarantee it. There have been times when a decision by higher management been taken, and we all say, why would they do that? That's dumb. But if they were dumb, they would not be CEOs or presidents or general managers, etc. They know things that we don't know. We have not been informed. So they're making the decision based on complete information, and we are making our comments based on a small amount of information. It's the same thing with Krishna. He knows, he says, I know everybody. I know everything. I know everything that happened in the past, present, is going to happen in the future. Accordingly, he makes his plan and actions. In the absence of that knowledge, we question it. So Bhishma is saying, don't even try. Lord Brahma tried, he failed. Lord Shiva tried, he failed. Don't even try. you will get bewildered. Many people better than you have become bewildered. So don't even try. So that's the message to Yudhishthira, and therefore to us, saying don't even try. Just accept it as Krishna's will. And I'll tell you, the best policy in life that you can have, and I'm telling all of you, the best policy in life you can have is to simply accept as Krishna's mercy whatever comes your way. It doesn't matter, good or bad or whatever. The Pandavas were not suffering from their past deeds. I mean, they were pure devotees. The eternal associates of Krishna. They don't have bad past deeds. But Krishna wanted to establish a kingdom of virtue and morality. And therefore, he made his devotees suffer temporarily to achieve that objective. Don't look at punishment as punishment, but look at it as purifying, just like the gold is purified when put in fire. So everything that happened, ever, certainly during the Battle of Kurukshetra, in the whole history of Mahabharata, all happened by Krishna's will. And he did it to make his devotees famous. Everybody knows Arjun now. Everybody knows Yudhishthira, Bhima, Bhishma, all those people. Everybody knows them. Because the Lord used them to teach lessons to others, people like us, how to handle reverses in life. And it's not just Pandavas. Prahlad Maharaj, how much trouble he went through. Dhruva Maharaj, he went so much trouble. And then he glorified Lord Krishna, acknowledging that Krishna has come before him while Bhishma is ending his life, because Bhishma is unflinching servant of Krishna. And Bhishma prayed the Lord Krishna may stay in front of him when he quits his body. And then Maharaj asked some other questions. Bhishma answered them. And as he was answering, the sun arose. I should say his course ran through the northern hemisphere, which is the auspicious time to die. So that's the time he was waiting for. You know that he had the benediction for dying at will. So he was waiting for that time. When that time came, Bhishma stopped speaking. He withdrew his mind from everything else and just fixed it on Lord Krishna. He focused his eyes on Krishna, who's standing right there in his 400 form now, because that's the form Bhishma worshipped. So he offered his final prayers, and gave up his body. And these 11 verses that are there in the Bhagavatam, for lack of time, I won't go into that, but he offered his prayers, and then he merged himself in the super soul and went home to the spiritual world. And when that happened, the demigods and all the other people who were gathered there, they actually played drums in the honor of Bhishma Pitama and showered him with flowers. And then everybody went home, and Krishna said, okay, now I have to go to Dwarka. And then he goes to Dwarka after that. So questions, comments. I'm sorry I'm running late, but if there are any last minute questions or comments, I can answer them. Otherwise, we'll stop and finish it.
Question, Prabhuji?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, questions. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry if you're not able to see me on the second page of your...
Oh, second page. And Leta, I can see you now. When you speak, you come in the front page.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a question from the previous explanation. I know, like, as the philosophical part says that everywhere there is Krishna's hands, correct? And we do understand, we are conscious of it. But when adverse, and we are not like Kunti, we are not that elevated devotees like Kunti or Prahlad Maharaj or Panch Pandavas or any other exalted devotees. We are just normal human beings trying to practice Krishna consciousness and become a devotee eventually one fine day, whenever it happens. But the rationale is like, I was reflecting on Radhika's realization too, but when adverse situations hit one after another, continuously, though we know that it is this too shall pass, that's what we say, like this is a time that we are having adverse situation 1 2 3 4 at a time, but Krishna is there to help us. But there is still the anxiety factor that comes into play, because we do not know, like you said, we don't know unless we connect the dots correctly. We don't know what the bigger picture is, but we do not know how we connect them. So how do we understand this, and how do we balance this in a practical sense, and how do we align it in the philosophical way? Because we know philosophy, but to put it in practice is a pretty difficult situation. It is a difficult thing because of a lot of adverse situations that one person goes through. If it is not, if it is one or two, it is fine. But if it is more than two, then continuously something or other keeps happening continuously. And Krishna is showering his mercy of connecting all those dots, and you don't know where you're heading. And sometimes you go crazy. Oh my God, this is happening. Okay, what do I do now? Like, that kind of anxious situation. How do you align this in a practical point of perspective and align it to the philosophical understanding? Because it's a tough thing.
Yeah, thank you for a wonderful question. So somebody said something? So thank you for a very wonderful question, a very practical question. I think most of us have difficulty with that. And my flippant answer is that Kunti asked for it, but he gave it to everybody else. And so not fair. But anyway, that's just flippant. If you really just sit back one day and ask yourself a few questions. First off, being, which of these miseries did I ask for in my current life? And the answer is going to be none. Most likely, none. Nobody says, oh, I deserve this misery. It's none. I didn't do anything. That's the first thing. Second thing is, it's the misery of the body. And we all can talk all we want, we're not the body, but we all feel we are the body. Third thing, the nature of the soul is to enjoy. And we identify so much with the body, we think the nature of us is to enjoy the body and the senses. But enjoy we must, it's inherent nature. So when things happen that stop that enjoyment, it becomes painful. So think about this. Misery is absence of happiness, and happiness is absence of misery. That's basically what it is, because we look at things in a relative, it's a relative world, we look at things in a relative world, a relative way. That's why you see somebody who used to getting 90% in the exam gets only 70% and cries. And somebody who's used to getting 50% gets 70% just dancing on the street. Same result, but different action. So everything is relative. So first thing is we have to realize everything is relative. That's one point. Second point is, if we understand that it really is not in our control, not only did we not ask for it, we didn't have the control to stop it. So that's the second realization, very important realization. I do not have control over my body or anything around me or anything that happens to me or in the world. I do not have control. Anytime when things happen according to my wishes, it's simply a beautiful coincidence that Krishna's desire happened to be same as your desire, or your desire happened to be same as Krishna's desire. And therefore it looked like it was my desire. It was not. It was Krishna's desire, something nice happened to you. So therefore, whether something bad happened or good happened, it's Krishna's desire. So you start thinking logically like that, it starts to make sense a little bit. Then you say, okay, if it's Krishna's desire, that means, and it's happening with me, that is the definition of Krishna's mercy. So that means in the form of this misery, I'm getting Krishna's mercy. And why should you be upset when you're getting Krishna's mercy? Right? If you really think it's a mercy. But when you start thinking that, what kind of mercy is this, giving my body pain, then it doesn't feel like mercy. Then it feels like your dad grounding you. When my kids were young, that was the thing to do, grounding you. Or when I was a kid, your dad's hitting you. And when my kids are born, you are trying to explain things to them. I mean, times change, but the point is you're doing something to the kid that the kid doesn't like. But you're doing it for the kids for welfare. So we have to have that faith that Krishna says, I am your best well-wisher, therefore he is. and therefore whatever it's doing is for my good. It just doesn't feel like that today. But unless you sit down and think about this rationally, in a objective way, it's hard to understand that. But you really have to sit down and think. And if you sit back and think about this, all these things that I'm saying to you will start making a lot of sense. And I'll tell you one thing, and I'll give you some personal experiences, that when you start thinking like that, it actually becomes fun when things go wrong. And I may be crazy, but I'm not that crazy. So I'm going to give you one example anyway, if not more than one. This happened in the late 90s. I was the managing director, country manager for a division of General Electric, GE, here in Canada. And I was a hero. Like nothing could go ever wrong. I could never do anything wrong. Like the presidents, the CEOs of the company were sending me email after email, what a great job. And I was feeling quite good. That went for one whole year. And literally as if like January 1st, 2nd year, things started going wrong. Within a month, I went from being a hero to a zero. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody would give me any support. And every day I went to office, some bad news happened. Every day. It became so bad that when I left home for work, I would say, okay, Krishna, what's going to go wrong today? And something will go wrong that day. And I'd say, Krishna, I told you it's going to happen. So I knew what you were doing. And then I would laugh. And I was actually enjoying this. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not lying to you. But I actually enjoy it. I knew this is going to happen. So it's happened. Then I'm not worried. And the limit was that a client came and he said, literally, I want to sign a $20 million contract. Tell me where to sign. And my bosses said, no, we don't want that business. Can you imagine? $20 million. Yes, in our business, that's not a great amount of money, but still nothing to sneeze at, as the expression goes. And they said, no. And then they said, we're going to fire you. They're going to fire me. Now this Krishna's arrangement. IBM came along. They said to GE, we want to buy this business from you. So everybody got busy selling their business. They forgot about me. I stayed. And I went to IBM as a dowry of this marriage. And I got paid that's $20,000 more than I was making at GE. No exaggeration in anything I've told you. But that is my point. I can give you story after story along those same lines from personal life. But my point is, if you understand this Krishna doing it, something happens and you start feeling bad and suffering, you just start enjoying that. You start seeing Krishna's hand in it. You start seeing his mercy in it. And then, as in my case, I was managing $200 million business. When IBM started $600 million, went to $1 billion. So was it good or bad for me that all these things were happening? And that's my point. If you have that faith, if you see Krishna's hand in it, you see Krishna's mercy, you will not be sad, you will not be upset, you simply tolerate it and go along with your life, happy with a big smile on your face. And people say, I don't understand. So many issues, so many problems. How can you smile? You say, I'm smiling because Krishna's mercy upon me. Don't let them understand what that means, but you understand what that means. And you go with that. Try it, every one of you. Try that. Because miseries will come. We talk about how to handle it. Somebody was trying to say something. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that enlightenment.
I hope that helps. I really hope that helps.
Yeah, very nice, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
It's a good motivation, Prabhuji. Seriously. Yeah. Seriously.
I'm glad. Yes, Bhakti Krishna Prabhu?
Aryo.
I can also say, Prabhuji, since I...
Yeah, those of you who have to go, please go. There's no problem. Those of you who have questions, you can stay. Yeah, you need to leave, go. No problem.
Papa, can I ask you a quick question? What is karma theory?
Sorry?
What is, like, you mentioned today karma theory.
Uh-huh.
What is that? Karma
Karma
theory.
theory basically means, in plain language, what goes around comes around.
Oh, okay. So there is, okay.
Basically,
Okay, that's,
as you
sure.
just sow, so shall you reap.
So you reap?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, perfect. It was a great class today. Love it. Thank you.
Always great.
Thank you. So yeah, it's very, very late. If there, like I said, those of you who need to go, please feel free. If you have any questions, ask. If no questions, we'll stop.
Hare Krishna Prabhu ji, this is Usha.
Hare Krishna Mata ji, कैसे हो?
बस ठीक हूँ. Prabhu ji, मुझे पूछना था, I have to ask that in this life, I know some people who have never done any wrong to anybody, and yet they get bad karmas. So is there, because of their previous bad karmas, they are getting the bad karmas right now?
Yeah. So let's talk about what is destiny. So imagine a bucket, a large bucket that's tied to your back, and you're carrying it with you. Every time you make a karma, good karma or bad karma. Everybody knows what M&Ms are? Anybody likes M&Ms? Those little chocolate dots? Anybody?
M&M.
Gems.
Small gems.
Like gems.
Small.
Yeah. So imagine only two colors. They come multicolored, green color and red color. Okay. So every time you do a good karma, green M&Ms are thrown in the bucket. Every time you do a bad karma, red green M&Ms are thrown in the bucket. And all your life you're accumulating in that bucket. You get the next life, the bucket goes with you, with all the M&Ms. And you get more M&Ms, green and red. After a few births, the whole bucket is so full. Now, what happens is, when you take your next birth, Krishna does something very interesting. He puts his hand in the bucket and takes a fistful out. Do you know what a lota is? It's a little mug you can think of. He puts it in that little mug. Whatever comes in his fist, he puts that in the mug. And he says, this is your destiny for this life.
For this life.
For this life. So whatever the green M&Ms are, they result in good things happening in your life. Whatever the red ones are, they result in bad things happening in your life. Regardless of what you're doing in the current life. So whatever is happening in your life today is a result of your previous life's karmas. You don't know which life's from, but it's from a previous lives. Okay? So therefore, it doesn't matter you're a good person or a bad person in this life, you're suffering or enjoying because of the karmas of the past life. Making sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
But how far it's like this thing that we don't know what we did in the last karma and we are bhukte ja rahe.
That's true. That's true. So somebody gave an example.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Oh, you're welcome. So, somebody gave an example of you visited some rainforest or something, and a mosquito bit you, and you came home and you got malaria. You go to the doctor and you say, how did I get malaria? He said, well, a mosquito bit you. And you say, which mosquito? He said, I got no idea. It doesn't matter. It is a mosquito bit you and you're getting malaria now. Same thing. It doesn't matter what birth, what life it was, how many lifetimes ago it was. It doesn't matter. But you did something bad, whose result you are receiving today in this life. It could have been 50 lifetimes ago. It could have been 1,000 lifetimes ago. Or it could have been the previous one, immediate previous one. It doesn't matter. Who cares? But you did something and you pay. It's just very simple.
Accumulation.
That's why Prabhu Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, like, don't get involved in Karam Kand. Because if you get into karam kant, which karma from where coming, and then you will get lot of confusion. Rather leave all those things and chant my name. That is how you can get rid of all those things.
That's right. Exactly. Just serve him. When you serve him, there's no karma.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haji? Please go ahead.
Prabhu, if parents do some good or bad karma, that affects on their children?
Not really. Karmas are very individual. They can be an indirect effect, but it's also because of your own karma. So, for example, a person with good karmas, but karmas in the bowl, the lota I was talking about, will be born in a rich family. If he has got a lot of green M&Ms. If he's got a lot of red M&Ms, he will be born in a very poor family to a mother who doesn't want him, be very sick right from birth, and things go wrong entire life. Right? So it just depends upon red M&Ms or green M&Ms. That's what decides what family you're born in, what health you have, what education you get, what kind of family you get, all those kind of things. So think M&M, everybody. Think green. And you'll be fine.
Prabhu, it's so amazing. You make it so simple and so easy to understand, even such complicated things.
Thank you. Yes, Lalita Priya?
Wanted to share a realization.
Sure.
So on the lines what Prabhuji said, I would say it is, that it is your karma. But again, I got offended personally. When devotees came to see me when I was in an adverse situation, they said, didn't you know that this is your own karma that is hitting you? I would never say that anybody who is going through this adverse situation, be it a devotee or non-devotee, we have to have some kind of sense of sensitivity at that point.
Absolutely.
I would say that that's my reflection, that I really got offended, and I told the devotee to leave. I said, you don't know what pain I'm going through.
I agree.
Not my body, but still it is my body. I'm living in this body and I feel the pain. So please don't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. Imagine somebody telling father of a boy who just died in a car accident. Oh, don't worry, it was just his karma. Can you imagine that? How would the father react? So yes, forget the philosophy. We need to know how to speak and what to speak. It's called austerity of speech.
From Radhika.
Thank you, Radhika. So my daughter brought the water saying it's from Radhika, courtesy of Radhika. Thank you. Okay. Anything else or should we wrap up?
I wish we could continue.
Oh,
Honest. It's really, we look forward to coming to your session.
Thank you, Vita.
Thank you so much.
But even I have a good example of saying that if Krishna wants you to serve him or to be under his supervision, I think I have a good explanation of saying that I am the one, Prabhuji. You won't believe, one of the Krishna devotee, ISKCON devotee, came to see me, like marriage when proposals come, only because he wanted his wife to be in that. I refused him, Prabhuji. But somehow round and round and round, abhi to my baju, from the house I can see the temple, and you won't believe, I met you, and slowly I'm coming. That means he wants me some or the other.
Yes.
So, oh my God, I have seen a lot, Prabhuji. I have so many after coming here. It's a miracle that, maybe some of the green MMMs are to serve him. So, and I'm really happy being in there. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Every Thursday you make our day, and that continues every week. Like this whole week, it's in our mind. Oh my God. I don't have words to explain that.
Thank you so much. You're very kind.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for everything.
Thank you.
Wish I can attend this class every Thursday. I get to miss it. I wish Prabhuji can change the day.
I know, Mataji. Yes. I have every day booked, every evening booked. Monday, Friday, and then Saturday morning. So that's my challenge. I'm so sorry. I would love to
I'll try my best.
do something we can help. So that's why I keep sending you recording anyway. So hopefully you can see the recordings.
Yes,
Prabhuji, can I
Prabhuji, but I try my best that I come online and just listen quietly because I'm at work. So I just listen quietly, don't ask anything.
That's okay. And you can call me later and ask. But we miss you too. But, you know,
Sure.
I understand. Thank you so
I
much.
miss it. I miss you guys all too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Sonam,
you,
you were
Prabhuji.
saying?
I wanted to ask a question, Prabhuji, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
You've explained it very nicely, but somehow I don't know whether I'm confused or not. So when you say that uh, someone who would have who would have good karmas more than the bad karmas, because obviously everybody would have both of these, they are born into a rich family, and people who would have more bad karmas will born into the poor family. But we see there are a lot of examples that people are born poor, but they did not die poor. So what are those karmas? Are those the present life karmas due to which the situation got better, or how does it work?
So this is what Bhishma Dev was saying. He was talking about the time factor. And we were talking about the karma factor. And somebody asked, is a contradiction? And I was saying that no, it's not. They go together. So look at it this way. Are you a science student or art student?
I was a science student.
Good, good. So then you understand the distribution of, so let's call it distribution of M&Ms. And imagine a plot that goes like this. So you're going along in your life, at the age of 35, you're hitting the peak of greens. And suddenly all the good things, the money, etc., start happening. And it's possible that you have so many greens, it stays there. Or it's possible that they're almost exhausted, or the time is for the red ones now, and it start going down. You lose money in the investment, business goes down, or you get fired, or whatever. And it goes on like that. Just the sinusoidal wave of life. So that's what it is. So just because you're born rich doesn't mean you'll stay rich. And just because you're born poor doesn't mean you stay poor. The life won't work if that was the case.
So can we reiterate it like this, that our fate and our destiny does not purely depend upon our karmas,
No,
and it's always Krishna's will that derives our life?
no, that is very true. But they both are true because Krishna decides which karmas, which one is going to be green, which is going to be red at what time. That's Krishna deciding. So it's Krishna's will. But still your karma. He's not adding karma to your things unless you're a devotee. That is burning them. That's the only change he makes. Otherwise, you got to go through your life. Now, what happens is that you may have had 5,000 red ones and he gives the result of only one. That's possible. You can do that if you're a devotee, depending upon it. But he doesn't take them all away unless you're a devotee. He doesn't change the distribution unless you're a devotee. Is that making sense?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful class, as usual.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel
Okay.
that Krishna's math is completely different from the material math that we study.
Actually.
Exactly opposite. And he has his own theorems and his proofs. So just go with his flow.
Just, I tell you honestly, I mean, I'm way older than any one of you. From personal experience, I can tell you, if you accept the simple point that it's all Krishna's will,
Mercy.
you become so happy. Things will go wrong. There's no question about it, but you'll be happy. Miseries will come, but you'll be happy. And good things will happen, you'll be happy. So you're just happy, happy, happy. Let things happen.
So you don't have to go through anxiety because once you know that
That's my point. The anxiety goes away.
And it is this thing, you just do your bit and leave the rest to him and then be equipoised. He's trying to get you balanced and not react but respond very intelligently.
Well, exactly. But just, I think you made a very good point. He never said stop doing your karma. He says karma neva adhikaraste. That's the only thing you have.
Exactly.
So you just do that, but leave the results to me. And that's where the problem comes. We can't leave the results to him. We work hard, we want good result. When we don't get it, we get upset. So that's the point. Remember, results are his, karma is yours. So don't get confused. Don't make results yours, karma his. Okay, Krishna, you work, give me the money. It doesn't work that way. You work, Krishna may or may not give you the money. That's the right principle. If he thinks you can handle it, he'll give it to you. If he thinks you can't handle it, he won't give it to you. Simple as that. Same thing for the miseries too. He doesn't give us miseries like he gave to Prahlad Maharaj. Can you imagine having the same kind of treatment that Prahlad Maharaj got at the age of 5? We'll die. She says, no, I don't want you to die. So he doesn't give us even 1% of what Prahlad got. And we must appreciate that. He is doing according to our capacity to absorb. He's not giving us anything. We are too soft. We're too soft.
Trying to make us more stronger with these adverse situations to be equal powers. Like
If we accept it that way, yes.
Bringing in those qualities, bringing out those qualities from our inner personalities, trying to give us the strength.
And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the devotees. So we can learn from their life. We can learn from their examples. We can learn from their attitude. We can learn from their reactions and their actions, all those kind of things. It's all there. We just have to read it, just have to accept it, but try to follow in the footsteps. It's not difficult if we want to do it. But
If we believe that Krishna has done this, even the red amendments will lead to Krishna.
Actually, red amendments can lead you Krishna faster.
More faster, yeah, more faster.
Give me more M&Ms. That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Give me more red M&Ms.
Yes.
That's the Shatabdi Express, Mataji.
Which I'm going through right now. So that's why I think I'm getting more closer to Krishna.
You're doing well.
Yes.
Okay, listen, it's 10, almost 10:15. Let's stop. Thank you so much. All of
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Let's get up at the Mangal Aarti. It's 10
Yes.
by.
Let's do that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna. Thank you.
Prabhuji, you have to wake up at the Mangal Aarti.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.